Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Open Tech Innovations coming to you with my very first video, one of my tutorials and many to come. The tutorial today is going to be demonstrating on building a full screen slider using just CSS and HTML. Now, I'll be building this slider using SCSS, so if your machine is not set up for that environment, then in a later video I'll demonstrate how to set up your machine using the Rails installer application and installing gems and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and move forward. For this tutorial though, we'll be working on creating a slider and it'll be responsive, very simple. Now in the description box below there's a Dropbox link or download link for the images that I personally chose to do this tutorial. You can use any other image you want. It's completely up to you, but you feel free to download this if you like. And then also I've provided two links to the Mozilla Foundation development network that's talking about the pseudo check or the check pseudo class and also general sibling selectors, because we'll be using some of this in this tutorial. All right, so let's move forward. The first thing we need a text editor. I'm using Adobe Brackets. You can use whatever you like, it doesn't really matter. Of course, a web browser, and in this case I'll be using a command prompt to accomplish some of my styling. Now this will be a two-part video. This video here will be primarily of the HTML, and then the second video will be of the styling, using the CSS and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to do is we need to create a directory, and then we need to set up that directory. So in this one, I'm going to call it CSS slider. And then my text editor allows the drag and drop option method, I should say. So I'm going to drag and drop it. I'm going to open up this directory, and I'm going to, give me 1 second. I'm going to add an assets folder, open up that folder and add 3 more. This is going to be SCSS, this will be CSS, and then this will be all of the images. So I have all the images already, so I'm going to go ahead and drag them into my images directory. Okay, and then we're going to come back to the text editor and create a new file, index.html. Now you're going to notice I'm going kind of fast on the HTML, and that's because I'm using a plugin called Emmet. You can see up here, and this allows me to create markup a lot faster. So I'm going to create a doc type, and again just call this pure CSS slides. Okay, save that. And then what we need to do is we need to begin the markup. We need to begin the structure from the HTML side. First thing we want to do is we want to create a slider wrapper. And then we're going to create a header. And then inside this header, we're going to create labels. Again, I'm probably going kind of fast. Pause if you need to. And let's see here. Slide 1. Oops. Messed up there. Label. Slide 1. Okay. And then I'm going to create 4 of those. Okay, and then just 2, 3, and 4. All right. Here in the labels, we need to identify the for and ID attribute. We're going to create the inputs. So here, I'm going to type in slide dash trigger underscore, and then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got our header, our labels, our for attribute is targeted as a slide trigger, and of course we have a little bit of text. Below the header, we need to create inputs. So I'm going to go input, and then this is going to be a radio button. Oops. And I'm not gonna go too fast, so I'll do the copy and paste. 2, 3, 4. Inside of this input, or below this first input, we need to add a section and an H1, and this is going to be slide heading 1, and then I'll just copy and paste. All right, so let's take a look at that in the browser. All right, so we've got our, obviously all these radio buttons are checked, and that's because we have to set the first one checked as a default. So we've got slide 1, slide 2, 3, and 4. So there's basically our navigation. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call it slider navigation. All right. This is going to be slider activity. All right. So then the next thing we need to do is we need to start adding all the other attributes for the input state. And these are going to be IDs because we have to target the label, or the label has to target the input. So it'll be slide slash trigger underscore, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then what we need to do is we need to add the additional attributes. So for example, the name, and the name is going to be slides. Okay, and then this first one we have to by default mark it as checked. So if we refresh our page, you'll notice that all 4 of those went away, obviously, but if we select one other element, then you're good to go. That means one's checked. Oops. All right, so then the next thing we need to do is, let me clean this up a little bit. Next thing we need to do is we need to classify each section, and we're going to use 2 classes. So the HTML part is going to go by pretty fast because there's not really much involved. It's the CSS that'll take time. And so we're going to call this slide, and then slide dash item underscore underscore, and then I'm going to target 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I spoke earlier about the whole modular deal. From a modular standpoint, this would be simpler to read if you were writing your CSS or SCSS or SAS. Excuse me. Because what you're doing is you're able to identify each element based on its name. So for example, we have, the parent element, and then we have basically a subparent, and then its siblings or childs, and then inside this parent element we have additional siblings, and then this would be a subparent. And I say subparent because it's a main element. You've got your header, which is an HTML5, your inputs, and your section. Those are divisions, so those help separate helps to separate all your content. But anyhow, that's on another tutorial. So far we have our main wrapper, we have our main header, we have the label, and the for attribute is targeting this input, this ID here. And then our section is the main slide, and the slide item is going to be the H1. So in our markup, when we go to write the CSS or the SAS, we're able to identify each item because we know what it is. And so again, if this is a big project or a semi-big project, and you're so happen to have been handed over the code, if you understand the whole modular approach, then you'll know that if I need to change this slide item number 2, you're going to know that it's the item that's located inside that slide, that section, which would be in this case the heading tag. So then you can go into your markup and you'll be able to identify it a lot faster instead of having to look around for it. Because I fall victim to that before. I've looked in other people's code and I have a hard time finding something because they either didn't name it correctly or they use repetitive type names, or identifiers, I should say, and so it just makes things a lot more difficult. So anyhow, I hope I didn't bore you, and this is going to conclude the HTML part of the slider. So again, please feel free to pause your video, finish this markup if you need to. This is what it should look like. You should have exactly what I have here. And again, take a look at the general sibling selectors and the pseudo class, check pseudo class, I should say. And that way you can understand a little bit more about its styling properties, the examples, all that good stuff. There's some great information. The MDN network provides a lot of awesome resources on studying the CSS, JavaScript, HTML, all that good stuff. So I hope that you'll come back and see the next video, and we'll move from there. So if you like this video, please thumb it up, subscribe to my channel, post a comment below, be positive please. Like I said, this is my very first video, and as I move forward, I'll progressively get better. My videos will be a lot better, I should say. So I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.